it's more around noon, but we can say good morning. Hello, everyone. Are we ready to begin the presentation? Are all of the attendees in the room?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, it's wonderful to see you all. You might be wondering why an 11-year-old midget is teaching you today. Well, my name is adorasvitak, and I am the author of Flying Fingers, Master the Tools of Learning Through the Joy of Writing, and this is the book that I published at the age of 7. More recently, I've been working on this book called Dancing Fingers, and this is a collection of my poetry as well as my older sister Adriana's poetry. So today we will be learning about something very important called a response to literature. Maybe you have heard of a response to literature. Raise your hand if you are familiar with the term. Okay, I see many raised hands. Very good. So who would like to tell me about what a response to literature is?
Come, somebody. We can't be shy. What is response to literature writing? We only have an hour, so somebody who knows. Eric, tell us.
Okay, well, I will explain a bit of the response to literature. So have you ever gotten into an argument with a friend or brother or sister about what to watch on TV? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, I see a lot of raised hands. Have you ever tried to convince someone that your show or book or character or band was the coolest? Your show, like a TV show you like watching, or a book that you like reading, or a character that you like hearing about, or a band that you like listening to, was the coolest. So raise your hand if you've ever tried to convince someone about any of those things. Okay. So what did you tell them to convince them that the book or show or character or band was really cool?
What did you tell that person that you were trying to convince them?
Oh,
Go ahead, Renee.
I told her that's a real funny show.
That is a really funny show.
Okay, it's a really funny show, sure, so talking about the humor. Well, when you write a response to literature, you're doing the same thing, but this time you have a better chance of winning the argument because you have time and a few weapons at your disposal. Writing a response to literature. So, what is literature? Okay, by now you may be asking what literature has to do with your favorite show. It has a kind of dry sound to it, doesn't it? If you look up the dictionary definition for literature, it says, literature, written works with artistic value. So you are able to see the presentation, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, let me translate that for you. Literature is a story that is meaningful or is told in an interesting way. What is fiction? Does anyone want to tell me what fiction is?
Not true.
Not true? Okay. So, fiction is a story that did not occur in real life. There could be historical fiction, there are mystery stories. Very good. And literature is, a lot of the literature we read, for instance, in class can be fiction. So we might read classics like Jane Eyre or Animal Farm. But could a comic book be literature? What do you think? Okay, I hear some yeses there, or yas. Okay, very good. So maybe it could be, but you might have to do some convincing. Today we're going to talk about writing a response to literature, a type of writing you'll need to master in order to do well in high school and college. Although that does sound kind of dry, high school, college, academic life, it sounds a little dreary. Luckily, it's not the only reason to learn how to write a response to literature, because when you write a response to a book, story, poem, or movie, you have the chance to express your thoughts, feelings, opinions, and ideas about it. So it's not just for academic life, it can be for life every day. So when you write a response to literature, do you have to write always about how much you love the story?
No.
No? Very good. Actually, you don't have to love the story, book, poem, or movie. It's okay if you don't. It's like when you get in an argument with your brother or sister about what show to watch on TV. You try to convince your sibling that the show he or she wants to watch isn't that great by criticizing the plot, the characters, or the way the story is told. Maybe the storyline is unrealistic, or the main character is just too perfect. When you write a response to a book that you didn't like very much, you use the same tactics. You try to convince your reader that the book isn't worth their time. So if you were trying to convince your brother or sister or a friend that his or her show wasn't worth watching, what kind of example might you give in order to support your argument? You can raise your hand.
Mercedes, go ahead. What example would you give? Give an example of something that's boring in the show.
Like the setting or the characters.
Okay.
Characters are boring. Okay.
You could talk maybe, yes, about the setting, that it's too typical. Okay, very good. So if you won, let's say you're reading a book for class. If you won, you can respond by telling your teacher that you think the book you read for class is a crock of dung, but I do have one disclaimer. The trick is to write something that has substance and gusto so that your opinions will be taken seriously, or at least win some style points. Nobody is going to listen to you if you write "this book was dumb" and leave it at that. You need to give reasons and examples. In order to convince your reader that your opinion is worthwhile, you need to be able to provide reasons. And it's like this in persuasive writing as well. You need to be able to provide evidence supporting details. Okay? So, literature is a piece of writing with artistic value. But remember, we can say that a comic book has artistic value, and people will be asking, well, what gives it artistic value? And grown-ups are typically the ones who decide what has artistic value and what doesn't, but today, you get to decide. For example, maybe you think that your favorite comic book is literature. Or maybe you know of a funny book that is as meaningful as a work of literature written by so-called serious authors. So, who would like to give me an example of a book that they think is just as good as a piece of literature written by so-called serious authors? A book that you want to defend.
What book do you like?
Sorry? Twilight, okay.
Something else. Come on, another book you guys really like. Indigo Summer.
Okay.
Another one. Come on, we got readers in here.
Sorry?
And girl books.
Okay. Anything else?
Go ahead, girl. Island of the Blue Dolphins.
Okay. Actually, I don't know. I think that is considered literature. But, yeah, so that's quite a good book. I read it. Let's see. There are many types of fiction that usually aren't considered literature. Mysteries, adventure novels, horror novels, romance novels, and comic books, to name a few. So, you guys listed some books that usually aren't considered literature. Twilight, although it's very popular, hasn't entered the pantheon yet. The It Girls books, all of these may be popular fiction, but not yet critically acclaimed or not yet in literature. So you chose a story that you wanted to defend. And I chose a story, or a comic book actually, that I wanted to defend. I chose one of my favorite Calvin and Hobbes books, Something Under the Bed is Drooling. So I'm going to try to prove that that book is worth being called a work of literature. That a book with drooling in the title can be literature too. Okay, so I created an outline to organize my thoughts. You might want to take notes on what to include in each paragraph. You don't need to write down each example, but just the basics. This is not the only structure.
Okay, you will be taking some notes.
Yes. This is not the only structure you can use when writing a response to literature. Your teacher may sometimes give you specific prompts or structures to work with, but this activity is a good place to start, and it will introduce some of the basic concepts that you will need to know to write almost any type of response to literature. So, first, write an outline. Okay, so here's an example of an outline. In paragraph number 1, I will grab the reader's attention with a hook. Example, want to escape to a lazy Sunday. Pick up a copy of Something Under the Bed is Drooling by Bill Webster. So, for instance, this is my beginning